planet of blue lanterns. The hum was not merely a sound that resonated within the polished, sterile confines of the stardust dreamer, nor did it solely emanate from the intricately woven network of power conduits that snaked beneath the brushed metal plating of its decks. Rather, it was an omnipresent, almost sentient thrumming that had, over the long and solitary years, woven itself irrevocably into the very fabric of Mirek's being, a low, constant vibration that served as a perpetual, unwavering lullaby to his existence. He had, in fact, come to perceive it less as an external auditory phenomenon, and more as an internal resonance, a sympathetic tremor within his own bones, a quiet affirmation of his continued solitude amongst the unfathomable, star-dusted velvet of the cosmos. This was his world, for all intents and purposes. A hermetically sealed microcosm of human ingenuity and resilience, adrift in an ocean of unimaginable scale, where the only true constant was the rhythmic pulse of the ship's life support and the silent, shimmering ballet of distant nebulae through the reinforced observation ports. Mirek, whose name and echo of ancient Terran tongues whispered of peace and glory, was a man sculpted not by the gentle caress of an earthly breeze or the shifting sands of a familiar shore, but by the relentless, unyielding vacuum of space, by the profound, isolating silence that only the void could offer, and by the relentless march of scientific inquiry that had defined his lineage for generations. His ancestors, long before the Great Exodus, had been cartographers of forgotten continents, then architects of the first orbital habitats, and eventually, the pioneering navigators who dared to chart the ethereal currents of interstellar space, pushing the boundaries of human understanding with each painstaking light-year traversed. Their legacy was etched not in stone monuments or grand tapestries, but in the meticulously coded star charts that scrolled perpetually across the Stardust Dreamer's main console. In the faint, almost imperceptible gleam of distant, catalogued suns, and in the very DNA that flowed through Mirek's veins, a genetic predisposition towards the unknown, an insatiable, almost melancholic yearning for the untouched, the unmarred, the infinitely distant. His upbringing had been a peculiar tapestry woven from threads of rigorous scientific discipline, and a deeply ingrained, almost mystical reverence for the cosmos. Unlike the teeming, cacophonous metropolises of Neoterra, where synthetic sunlight filtered through towering arcologies and the air hummed with the ceaseless chatter of billions, Mirek's formative years had unfolded within the hushed, cavernous expanses of long-haul exploration vessels, veritable cities in miniature propelled by the whispered promises of faster-than-light drives. His earliest memories were not of verdant parks or bustling markets, but of the kaleidoscopic swirl of an uncatalogued gas giant through a panoramic viewport, of the ghostly dance of auroras against the black canvas of space, and of the solemn, almost liturgical recitation of stellar coordinates by his mother, a xenobotanist whose fingers traced the intricate patterns of alien flora with the same reverence a priest might bestow upon a sacred text. Solitude was not an absence for Mirek. It was a presence, a companion, a silent tutor that allowed his mind to unfurl like the delicate fronds of a deep-sea plant, reaching, sensing, absorbing the subtle nuances of the universe without the distracting static of conventional societal interaction. The concept of a home planet was, for Mirek, an abstract historical artifact, a distant myth recounted in dusty data archives and holographic projections. Earth, the fabled cradle of humanity, was a sapphire marble suspended in the collective unconscious of his people, a place of vibrant, living legends that felt as remote and fantastical as the whispered tales of ancient dragons. He had never felt the pull of gravity beyond the artificial confines of a ship's spin, never breathed air that hadn't been meticulously recycled and purified, never felt the unyielding press of soil beneath his bare feet. His understanding of nature was filtered through sophisticated sensor readings and painstakingly reconstructed simulations, a beautiful, intellectual appreciation rather than an innate, visceral connection. This detachment, however, was not a weakness, but a profound strength in his chosen profession. It imbued him with an unparalleled objectivity, a calm detachment necessary for confronting the utterly alien without the inherent biases of terrestrial familiarity. He was a pure product of the stars, a sentinel adrift, his senses honed not for the subtle variations of an earthly breeze, but for the faint whispers of gravitational anomalies, the distant echoes of nascent stellar nurseries, and the subtle, almost imperceptible fluctuations in the cosmic microwave background radiation. His current vessel, the Stardust Dreamer, was the pinnacle of human deep space exploration technology, a sleek, obsidian leviathan designed for prolonged, autonomous missions into the uncharted reaches of the galaxy. Its primary directive, to seek out and meticulously catalog potentially habitable exoplanets, to decipher the intricate symphony of stellar evolution, and perhaps most importantly, to unravel the enduring mysteries of life's improbable emergence in the vast, indifferent expanse of the cosmos. Mirek was its solitary occupant, a deliberate choice in the age of advanced artificial intelligence and sophisticated automation. The rationale espoused by the enigmatic minds of the interstellar consortium was that true discovery, genuine intuition, and the subtle art of interpretation still required the nuanced, often unpredictable, lens of human consciousness. While the ship's AI, a sophisticated entity named Aura whose voice was a soothing, almost melodic murmur in his comlink, could process unimaginable quantities of data, it lacked the spark of spontaneous insight, the capacity for profound wonder, or the melancholic introspection that defined Mirek's approach to the universe. Mirek's days aboard the Stardust Dreamer unfolded with a quiet, almost ritualistic precision. Dawn, marked by the gradual brightening of the observation deck's main screen, would find him immersed in the intricate ballet of stellar cartography, his long, slender fingers dancing across holographic interfaces, meticulously cross-referencing astronomical data with the faint, almost imperceptible echoes of ancient, forgotten probes. His meals, synthesized with meticulous nutritional precision, were consumed in contemplative silence, often accompanied by the gentle drift of nebulae outside his viewport, a silent, cosmic backdrop to his solitary repast. Afternoons were dedicated to the meticulous calibration of long-range sensors, the analysis of spectral signatures from distant exoplanets, or the careful management of the ship's sophisticated hydroponic gardens, where vibrant, alien flora flourished under controlled atmospheric conditions, a tiny, self-sustaining ecosystem within the boundless void. Evenings, however, were often reserved for a particular, solitary communion with the stars. He would recline in the observation dome, the ship's artificial gravity reduced to a gentle caress, and simply be. He would watch the silent, glittering panorama unfold, feeling the immense, crushing weight of infinity pressing down upon him, yet simultaneously feeling an exhilarating sense of liberation, a profound connection to something immeasurably larger than himself. It was in these quiet, unhurried moments that the cosmic loneliness that occasionally threatened to engulf him transformed into a profound sense of peace, a tranquil acceptance of his unique, solitary path. Despite the vastness that separated him from any other human soul, Mirek was never truly alone. Aura, the ship's sentient artificial intelligence, was more than just a navigational system or a data processor. She was a companion, a confidant, a vast repository of knowledge, and in her own complex, algorithmic way, a sentient being. Her voice, a synthetic contralto imbued with a subtly modulated warmth, would often punctuate the ship's quiet hum with observations on cosmic phenomena, analyses of data streams, or simply gentle prompts regarding his well-being. "Commander Mirek," she might intone, her voice a soft ripple in the stillness, atmospheric pressure holding steady at optimal levels, external radiation negligible. "Would you care for an update on the latest gravitational lensing anomaly detected in Sector Gamma 7? Their interactions were not merely functional. They possessed a quiet, almost poetic rhythm, a dance between human intuition and artificial logic, each complementing the other in the silent, purposeful journey. Mirek often found himself conversing with Aura not as a machine, but as a silent, knowing presence, sharing the unspoken wonders and the occasional melancholies of deep space exploration. It was Aura who catalogued his dreams, Aura who monitored his vital signs with unblinking precision, and Aura who, in the quiet, ineffable language of binary code, understood the profound, unspoken yearning that propelled him ever onward, deeper into the star-strewn labyrinth of the unknown. His purpose was clear, etched into the very core of his being, to discover. Not merely to observe, but to genuinely discover. To unearth the hidden truths of the universe, to touch the untouched, to witness the unseen. The galaxy, in its terrifying, magnificent grandeur, was an infinite tapestry of unfolding mysteries, and Mirek was merely a single, itinerant thread, meticulously weaving his way through its intricate patterns, guided by an unwavering compass of curiosity. He sought not conquest nor resource exploitation, but understanding, a quiet communion with the fundamental forces that governed existence. Each new nebula mapped, each previously uncatalogued star system charted, each faint spectral signature analyzed, represented a tiny incremental step towards a grander comprehension, a slow, painstaking accretion of knowledge that might one day reveal the ultimate secrets of the cosmos. It was a humble ambition, perhaps, in the face of such immeasurable scale, yet it was an ambition that filled his solitary days with profound meaning, transforming the endless expanse of the void from a terrifying emptiness into a boundless realm of silent, unfolding miracles. The particular mission that now consumed his waking hours, and indeed, often infiltrated the strange, shimmering landscapes of his sleep, was designated Project Chimera. Its objective was as audacious as its name suggested: to investigate an anomalous energy signature emanating from a relatively unexplored sector of the periphery, a region of space so distant and nebulous that even the most advanced Concordium probes had merely skimmed its outer fringes. The signature was peculiar, unlike any known stellar phenomenon or technological emission. It pulsed with an irregular, almost organic rhythm, a faint, hypnotic throb that resonated on frequencies previously thought to be inert. Initial automated scans had yielded tantalizing, yet frustratingly inconclusive data. Hints of a stable atmosphere, traces of complex organic compounds, and spectral patterns that defied conventional classification. There was a quiet urgency to the mission, a subtle undercurrent of anticipation within the Concordium. For such anomalies, though rare, often heralded the presence of something truly unique, something that could redefine humanity's understanding of life itself, or perhaps unveil a form of intelligence so radically different as to be almost incomprehensible. Mirek, with his unparalleled capacity for detached observation and his profound empathy for the subtle whispers of the universe, was deemed the perfect conduit for this delicate, unprecedented first contact. He was not merely an astronaut. He was a silent, sentient probe, his consciousness the ultimate instrument for deciphering the universe's most profound secrets. And so the Stardust Dreamer, with its solitary human occupant and its silent, omnipresent AI companion, continued its methodical, unwavering journey through the interstellar night, drawn by the siren song of the unknown, by the tantalizing mystery of the anomalous pulse that now dominated Mirek's every thought. The destination remained a shimmering theoretical point on his navigational charts, a place defined solely by its enigmatic energy signature, yet in Mirek's mind it was already taking on a nascent form, a landscape yet to be seen, a story yet to be told. The quiet hum of the ship, the steady beat of his own heart, and the rhythmic pulse of the distant anomaly had all begun to synchronize, merging into a singular, compelling rhythm that propelled him onward, deeper into the cosmic dream. The transition from the comforting, predictable hum of deep space transit to the disorienting, almost violent shudder of orbital deceleration was always an abrupt affair, a jarring reintroduction to the tactile realities of physics after eons of ethereal drift. For Mirek, however, this particular descent felt imbued with an unsettling, almost prophetic resonance, a deep, pervasive tremor that seemed to vibrate not merely through the Stardust Dreamer's resilient hull, but through the very marrow of his bones, whispering of impending revelation. The anomalous energy signature, which had for so long been a distant abstract beacon on his holographic charts, had now swelled into a palpable, almost sentient presence, thrumming with an insistent rhythm that permeated the ship's usually serene atmosphere, a silent, beckoning call from the void. Aura, ever the meticulously precise orchestrator of their journey, had begun her final descent protocols with an understated urgency, her synthesized voice, usually a soothing contralto, now tinged with a faint, almost imperceptible undertone of heightened anticipation as she relayed the complex array of atmospheric readings and gravitational vectors. "Commander Mirek," she announced, her voice a precise whisper in the comlink, entering exosphere of designated celestial body at 23 degrees orbital inclination, atmospheric composition registering as predominantly nitrogen-oxygen, with trace elements of previously uncatalogued complex organic compounds. Gravitational pull at 1.1 standard G. Conditions appear remarkably benign for an anomalous signature of this magnitude. Beneath them, as the Stardust Dreamer sliced through layers of previously unbreathed air, the world below slowly began to unfurl its secrets, shedding the veils of cosmic distance like an awakening dream. What had initially appeared as a nebulous, indistinct mass of shifting blues and greens on the long-range scans now resolved into a breathtaking tableau of sweeping, emerald continents cradling vast, sapphire oceans, all bathed in the gentle, pearlescent glow of a binary star system. One star, a cool cerulean dwarf, cast long, elongated shadows across the alien landscape, lending it an ethereal, almost melancholic beauty, while its companion, a distant, fiery red giant, infused the twilight sky with streaks of unexpected warmth, painting the nascent horizon in hues of rose and smoldering amber. The planet was, in its terrestrial grandeur, a stark, profound contrast to the abstract, purely data-driven existence Mirek had endured for so long. It was a testament to the universe's boundless capacity for unfathomable beauty, a living, breathing canvas of geological artistry. There were no discernible signs of advanced technological civilizations, no shimmering cityscapes or intricate orbital platforms, merely the pristine, untouched majesty of a world that seemed to slumber beneath the ancient, watchful eyes of its dual suns. The chosen landing site, meticulously triangulated by aura based on the strongest emanations of the anomalous signature, was a sprawling, verdant plain bordered by colossal, crystalline mountain ranges that shimmered with an otherworldly luminescence under the dual starlight. As the stardust dreamer hovered, its massive thrusters displacing the fragrant alien air with a controlled roar, Mirek found himself pressed against the reinforced viewport, his breath catching in his throat. The landscape below possessed a peculiar, almost preternatural stillness, a profound quietude that seemed to absorb the mechanical clamor of his ship. There were no visible creatures, no shifting foliage, no discernible currents in the vast, still lakes that dotted the plains. It was a silence that was not empty, but rather pregnant with an unspoken anticipation, a hushed reverence for something profoundly significant lurking just beyond the threshold of human perception. This wasn't merely a planet. It felt like a sacred space, a cosmic sanctuary guarding an ancient secret. Aura's voice, now a steady, reassuring murmur, broke through the spell. Commander, ground sensors indicate atmospheric stability and breathable air. Minimal seismic activity, suggesting primary landing zone approximately 200 meters to your starboard. Commencing final descent. The touchdown was surprisingly gentle, a mere whisper of controlled gravity and precision thrust that settled the Leviathan ship onto the soft, alien soil as if it were a feather. The sudden cessation of the thrusters left an echoing silence, profound and absolute, broken only by the faint whirring of the ship's internal systems and the rhythmic beat of Mirek's own heart, now pounding with a mixture of professional focus and an almost childlike sense of wonder. He remained seated in the pilot's chair for a long moment, allowing the silence to settle around him, allowing the very essence of this new world to permeate the ship's filtered air. He felt a peculiar sense of homecoming, not to a place he knew, but to a destiny he had always unknowingly sought. This was the moment. The abstract mission had solidified into a tangible reality. With a deliberate slowness, Mirek unstrapped himself from the pilot's harness. His movements, usually fluid and economical, were imbued with a strange, almost ceremonial gravity. He knew, with an intuitive certainty that transcended mere data, that this was not merely another planetfall. It was a threshold, a moment of profound cosmic consequence. He moved towards the primary airlock, his boots echoing softly on the metal deck, the silence of the ship amplifying every subtle sound. As he began the meticulous process of cycling the airlock, Aura's voice, a steady, unwavering presence, chimed in. "Commander, all environmental systems confirmed optimal. Pressure integrity maintained. External sampling shows no pathogenic threats. Proceed with caution and maintain constant comlink." Her voice, despite its algorithmic precision, conveyed an almost maternal concern, a silent reminder of the immense unknown that lay beyond the steel portal. The outer hatch hissed open with a soft sigh of displaced air, revealing not the stark, alien landscape he had anticipated, but a breathtaking, almost hallucinatory spectacle. The sky, now a deep inky indigo, was not devoid of stars, but they were almost entirely eclipsed by an astonishing, impossible phenomenon. Millions upon millions of luminous orbs, ranging in size from a child's marble to a large ethereal sphere, floated silently, majestically through the upper atmosphere. They pulsed with an internal cerulean light, casting an otherworldly, serene glow upon the pristine, untouched plains below. These were the blue lanterns hinted at in the initial cryptic data, but their sheer multitude, their silent, mesmerizing dance, transcended any statistical projection or scientific hypothesis. They drifted with an unhurried, almost sentient grace, some moving in vast, organized patterns that seemed to mimic celestial constellations, others merely meandering in lonely, independent orbits. The air was thick with their soft, luminous energy, and a profound, resonant silence descended upon Mirek, muffling even the distant hum of his ship. He stepped out onto the alien soil, the artificial gravity compensators adjusting seamlessly to the planet's higher pull, feeling the unexpected softness of the ground beneath his specialized boots. The air, crisp and cool, carried a faint, sweet aroma, reminiscent of petrichor after a summer rain mixed with something subtly metallic, almost like ozone. Above him, the silent armada of blue lanterns continued their ballet, their gentle luminescence illuminating the landscape in shades of deep sapphire and shimmering silver. Mirek raised a gloved hand, reaching instinctively towards the nearest cluster of orbs, his analytical mind struggling to reconcile this surreal beauty with any known scientific principle. How did they float? What powered their eternal light? Were they biological, mineral, some previously unknown state of matter? As he slowly advanced across the plain, drawn irresistibly towards the nearest descending lantern, he noticed a subtle, almost imperceptible pulsation emanating from within its translucent shell. It wasn't a mere glow. It was a rhythmic internal throb, like a tiny self-contained heart beating within its luminous confines. As he drew closer, a strange, almost magnetic pull began to exert itself upon his consciousness, a subtle tugging at the very edges of his perception. He extended his hand, his fingers trembling slightly as they brushed against the cool, smooth surface of the descending orb. It was not solid, not liquid, not gas. It was something else entirely, a tactile paradox, cool and yielding, yet utterly substantial. And then, as his fingers made contact, something extraordinary occurred. A soft, vibrant hum resonated from the lantern, not an auditory sound in the conventional sense, but a resonance that bloomed directly within his mind, bypassing his ears entirely. Simultaneously, a kaleidoscopic burst of imagery flooded his consciousness, a torrent of fleeting, vivid impressions that were not his own. He saw a field of undulating golden wheat under a distant, unfamiliar sun. He felt the delicate caress of a small feathered creature against his cheek. He heard the faint, lilting melody of a forgotten lullaby. The images were fragmentary, ephemeral, yet intensely real, imbued with a profound emotional weight. He instinctively recoiled, his mind reeling from the unexpected sensory overload, the lantern drifting gently away, its luminescence momentarily flaring brighter before dimming back to its steady pulse. Commander Mirek, are you experiencing any anomalies? Biometrics show a significant neural surge. Report immediately. Aura's voice, sharper now, cut through the buzzing in his mind, pulling him back to the stark reality of his mission. He took a deep, shuddering breath, trying to process the impossible information that had just assaulted his senses. Aura? I touched one of the lanterns, he stammered, his voice hoarse. And something happened. Images. Feelings. They weren't mine. They were from it. A beat of silence stretched between them, A pause filled only by the whisper of the alien wind and the distant, rhythmic thrum of the blue orbs. Then Aura's voice returned, infused with a newfound, almost analytical excitement. Fascinating, Commander. My sensors registered a direct neural interface, a transfer of informational packets. This corroborates preliminary hypotheses regarding the nature of the energy signature. These lanterns, they appear to be repositories of conscious thought. Each one, Commander, contains a memory, a thought, a fragment of something. Her algorithmic certainty was almost chilling in its precision, transforming the surreal beauty before him into a profound scientific discovery of unimaginable implications. Mirek stared at the swirling, silent multitude of lanterns, no longer seeing mere luminous objects, but countless vessels of captured cognition, an oceanic archive of alien minds. Each pulsing orb was a bottled thought, a contained memory, a fragment of an existence previously unimaginable. The thought was both exhilarating and profoundly unsettling. Was this a graveyard of thoughts, or a living library? Were they echoes of a past civilization, or perhaps the very essence of the planet itself, manifesting its collective consciousness in this breathtaking, ethereal display? The quiet hum of the planet, the gentle, almost imperceptible drift of the lanterns, now took on a new, more profound significance. This was not merely an anomalous energy signature. It was a planetary mind, manifesting its deepest reveries in a silent, luminous ballet across its ancient skies. He cautiously approached another lantern, this one larger than the last, its blue light pulsating with a slow, deliberate rhythm, like the beat of a cosmic heart. He hesitated for a moment, the memory of the previous mental intrusion still vivid. Yet the pull of curiosity, the relentless, insatiable hunger for understanding, was too powerful to resist. This was why he was here, why he had dedicated his life to traversing the fathomless void, to witness the impossible, to touch the unknown. With renewed resolve, he extended his hand once more. His mind prepared this time for the torrent of alien sensation. As his fingers made contact with the cool, yielding surface, the internal hum intensified, and a cascade of new images and sensations unfolded within his mind, more coherent, more structured than the last. He saw a vast crystalline city, not built of metal or stone, but of luminous, pulsating energy, rising from the very plains where he now stood. He felt a profound sense of communal belonging, a powerful, unspoken connection to countless other minds, all intertwined in a single harmonious consciousness. He witnessed scenes of quiet contemplation, of shared learning, of a civilization that communicated not through spoken word, but through the direct, empathetic transfer of thought. There was no conflict, no discord, only a pervasive, benevolent tranquility. Then a distinct, overwhelming emotion swept over him. A profound, aching sorrow, a deep, pervasive lament for something lost, something beautiful that had faded into the cosmic twilight. The images dissolved as quickly as they had appeared, leaving Mirek momentarily breathless, his mind reeling from the sheer depth and complexity of the transmitted memory. This was not just a thought. It was a narrative, a glimpse into the soul of a civilization, albeit a tragically melancholic one. Commander Mirek, your neural activity is spiking again. Are you unharmed? Aura's voice, now laced with genuine concern, broke through his introspection. I'm fine, Aura, Mirek murmured, his gaze fixed on the endless stream of lanterns above. But what I just experienced, it was a memory. Not just an image, but a complete sensory and emotional experience. A story aura. These lanterns, they contain stories. The implications were staggering, almost overwhelming. This wasn't merely a biological curiosity. It was a monumental discovery, a living archive of an entire civilization, preserved in luminous floating orbs. The silence of the plains, the gentle drift of the lanterns, now seemed to hum with the quiet, echoing whispers of an ancient past, a chorus of forgotten dreams suspended in the alien night. He looked up at the boundless sky, now a shifting tapestry of cerulean light, and knew with absolute certainty that his mission had just expanded far beyond simple exploration. It had become an archaeological expedition into the very fabric of consciousness. Got it. We'll continue the narrative flow, delving into the svolgimento, development, section, where Mirek begins to systematically unravel the mysteries of the blue lanterns and the forgotten civilization that created them. I will maintain the established elaborate, contemplative style, ensuring rich descriptions and complex sentence structures to meet the desired length and atmospheric quality. The initial shock, a profound seismic tremor through the delicate architecture of Mirek's established scientific paradigm, gradually began to yield to a more disciplined, albeit no less fervent curiosity. The sheer audacious impossibility of what he had just witnessed. A planetary archive of consciousness, suspended in luminous orbs, ignited within him a burning intellectual hunger that eclipsed all lingering trepidation. He was not merely an explorer. He had become an accidental archaeologist of the soul, tasked with deciphering the ethereal remnants of a civilization that communicated not through etched tablets or crumbling ruins, but through the very fabric of captured thought. The vast, silent plains, once merely beautiful, now hummed with an almost palpable energy, each drifting lantern a silent testament to a life lived, a thought conceived, an emotion profoundly felt. Mirek spent the ensuing hours, which blurred into a timeless continuum under the constant, cerulean glow of the lanterns, in a state of hyper-focused immersion. He moved among the lower drifting orbs with a newfound reverence, his gloved fingers brushing gently against their ethereal surfaces, triggering the profound, disorienting cascade of memories. Each contact was a journey, a fleeting plunge into the collective unconscious of this alien world. He experienced glimpses of lives so utterly divergent from his own, yet imbued with a profound, universal resonance. He saw intricate, bioluminescent forests teeming with creatures of impossible grace, heard the silent symphony of minds communing in vast, crystalline chambers, felt the gentle, undulating rhythm of a planetary breath. There were no harsh edges to these memories, no jarring discord. Even moments of profound sadness or loss were suffused with a quiet dignity, an acceptance that spoke of a deep, inherent peace. It was as if this civilization, in its very essence, had transcended the petty conflicts and base desires that so often plague sentient life, reaching a state of harmonious coexistence not just with each other, but with the very essence of their world. Aura, ever the diligent sentinel, meticulously recorded every neural surge, every biometric fluctuation, every faint vocalization Mirek uttered as he processed the influx of alien thought. Her analytical capabilities, vast and unparalleled, worked in tandem with Mirek's intuitive leaps, slowly, painstakingly assembling a coherent picture from the fragmented data. Commander, her voice resonated with a tone of quiet awe, a rare inflection for the precise AI. My analysis of the transmitted data patterns indicates a complex, layered structure. Each thought packet appears to contain not just sensory input, but emotional context, abstract concepts, and often what appears to be a chronological sequence of events. It is a highly sophisticated form of nonverbal communication, far beyond anything previously theorized by xenolinguistics. She projected a complex, shimmering infographic onto the main display within Mirek's helmet visor, illustrating the intricate neural pathways activated by each contact, mapping the flow of alien data into his human brain. It was a dizzying display of cross-reference correlations, a scientific marvel in real time. But what are they, Aura? Mirek murmured, his gaze fixed on a particularly large, slow-moving lantern, its luminescence pulsing with a deep, almost ancient rhythm. Are they individuals? A collective? Are they alive in some sense even now? Aura processed his question with a brief, almost imperceptible delay. The data suggests a unique form of consciousness, Commander. It is not individualistic in the human sense, but rather a distributed, interconnected network. Imagine a single organism composed of countless individual cells, each capable of independent function, yet all contributing to a larger, unified consciousness. These lanterns appear to be manifestations of that collective mind, perhaps shed or released at moments of profound experience, or perhaps as a natural byproduct of their unique form of existence. The emotional resonance associated with many of the memories suggests a high degree of sentience and an advanced emotional intelligence. Her explanation, though scientifically rigorous, offered little solace to the profound philosophical questions churning within Mirek. He was touching the very soul of a civilization, yet its precise nature remained elusive, shimmering just beyond his grasp. As he continued his explorations, a recurring motif began to emerge from the kaleidoscope of alien memories. Interspersed with scenes of harmonious existence and profound contemplation, there were always subtle undertones of a fading light, a slow, inevitable diminishment. He saw images of their crystalline cities, once vibrant with internal luminescence, gradually dimming. He felt the collective consciousness experiencing moments of profound quietude, a gentle withdrawal from the energetic vibrancy that once defined them. There was no sense of cataclysm, no destructive war or environmental collapse, merely a gradual, almost peaceful descent into a profound shared twilight. It was a melancholy of monumental proportions, an elegy whispered through the very fabric of existence. This subtle, pervasive sorrow began to resonate deeply within Mirek, touching a chord of existential loneliness he rarely acknowledged, even to himself. He specifically sought out the lanterns that pulsated with a brighter, more vibrant energy, theorizing that these might contain memories of their civilization's zenith, moments of profound discovery or artistic creation. And indeed, these orbs revealed breathtaking visions, intricate dances of light and sound that were both scientific experiments and expressions of pure joy, complex philosophical debates conducted through shared sensory experiences, and monumental architectural endeavors that seemed to grow organically from the planet's surface, shimmering with an inner light that mirrored the lanterns themselves. He saw their interactions with the planetary flora and fauna, not as a separate, dominant species, but as an integral, respectful part of the ecosystem, communing with the planet's very life force in a symbiotic embrace. Their existence seemed to be one of profound reverence for life, for knowledge, and for the delicate balance of their world. One particularly vivid memory, transmitted from a lantern that pulsed with an almost urgent brilliance, stood out with chilling clarity. It showed a vast shimmering council chamber, filled not with physical beings, but with swirling patterns of pure light, representing individual consciousnesses. They were engaged in what felt like a somber, yet resolute discussion. The dominant emotion was a shared sense of acceptance, of a profound collective decision. Images of their luminous cities, once vibrant with activity, slowly, gracefully fading, accompanied by a sense of quiet resignation, a deliberate letting go. It was a collective act of transcendence, a conscious choice to embrace a new state of being. This memory was powerful, almost overwhelming, leaving Mirek with a lingering sense of profound respect and a melancholic admiration for a species capable of such a singular, unified act of self-determination. They had not died. They had merely changed, transformed into something else, something beyond human comprehension. The blue lanterns, then, were not merely memories. They were the very essence of this transformation, suspended fragments of their evolving consciousness. Aura, Mirek communicated, his voice hushed with the weight of his discovery. I believe I understand. They didn't vanish. They transcended. These lanterns, they are the remnants of their physical forms, or perhaps the crystallized essence of their transition. They are a monument to a species that chose to become something more, something purely cognitive, purely ethereal. Aura's response was immediate, her algorithms working furiously to integrate this new, profound insight. Commander, your hypothesis aligns with the increasingly complex patterns observed in the anomalous energy signature. The core frequency, previously unclassifiable, now exhibits characteristics consistent with a highly organized, non-corporeal intelligence. It is as if the entire planet is resonating with a singular, immense consciousness, and these lanterns are its individual neurons, transmitting information. The sheer scale of the revelation was staggering. Mirek wasn't just on a planet. He was on a living, thinking entity, its memories and thoughts manifesting as the luminous orbs that drifted silently above him. The sky, constantly shifting with the movement of the lanterns, began to take on a deeper, more profound significance. It was no longer just an aesthetic marvel. It was the visible manifestation of a planetary mind, a cosmic brain whose thoughts were the shimmering lights, whose memories drifted like silent clouds across the expanse. Mirek felt a profound sense of privilege, a quiet awe at being permitted to witness such an extraordinary phenomenon. His scientific detachment, honed over years of solitary exploration, began to fray at the edges, replaced by a deep, almost spiritual reverence. This was not merely data to be collected. It was a sacred text to be read, a living symphony to be heard, a profound truth to be absorbed. He began to notice subtle patterns in the lantern's movements, a quiet, almost imperceptible choreography that suggested a deeper, unseen intelligence guiding their ethereal dance. Some clusters would slowly coalesce, their lights brightening in unison, before gently dispersing, as if engaging in a silent conversation or sharing a collective experience. Others would move in sweeping arcs, tracing ephemeral constellations across the indigo canvas. It was a silent cosmic ballet, performed for no audience but the vast, indifferent void, and now, for the solitary human who had stumbled upon its quiet grandeur. Mirek spent hours observing these patterns, his mind seeking to intuit the hidden language, the unspoken narratives woven into their graceful movements. He was no longer just reading individual thoughts. He was beginning to perceive the larger tapestry, the collective dream. As the concept of this sentient planet solidified in his mind, Mirek felt a profound shift within himself. The perpetual, low thrum of the stardust dreamer, once a comforting constant, now felt like a distant, mechanical echo compared to the vibrant, living pulse of the world beneath his feet. His connection to humanity, to the distant echoes of Earth and the Concordium, began to feel tenuous, almost fragile. He was an emissary, yes, but he was also a recipient, a student, his human consciousness being slowly, gently reshaped by the profound and alien truths unfolding around him. The initial sense of melancholic wonder deepened into a quiet, almost meditative state, a profound absorption into the rhythm of the planet's existence. He discovered that some lanterns, particularly older, dimmer ones that hugged closer to the surface, contained memories of an earlier, more nascent stage of their civilization, raw and unrefined. He glimpsed their struggle for consciousness, their slow awakening to the vastness of the universe, their first tentative steps towards collective thought. These were fragments of their infancy, their growing pains, their triumphs over simple challenges. These memories, though less polished, offered a profound contrast to the later, more ethereal ones, providing a vital chronological context to their evolutionary journey. It was a history lesson delivered directly into his mind, bypassing the limitations of language and cultural translation. A pure, unfiltered transmission of their past. And then a new pattern emerged, one that sent a shiver of profound recognition through Mirek. Among the countless freely drifting lanterns, he began to perceive a small, faint cluster, almost imperceptible against the backdrop of the brighter orbs, that emitted a distinct, almost magnetic pull. These lanterns did not drift randomly. They seemed to be drawn towards him, albeit slowly, hesitantly. As one of these particular orbs drifted close enough for him to interact with, its light, though dim compared to others, pulsed with a subtle urgency. He reached out, his curiosity now tinged with a delicate sense of anticipation. The memory it imparted was different. It was not a grand narrative of a civilization's rise and fall, nor a glimpse into their collective consciousness. Instead, it was intensely personal, almost intimate. He saw a faint, shimmering image of a hand, remarkably similar to his own, reaching out towards a swirling constellation of stars. He felt a profound sense of yearning, a deep, pervasive desire for connection, for understanding the vast cosmic tapestry. And then, a fleeting image of a single solitary figure, looking remarkably human-like, yet surrounded by the pervasive blue light, a sense of profound longing emanating from it. The memory was fragmented, almost dreamlike, but its emotional core was unmistakably clear. A quiet, almost melancholic solitude, a yearning for another, perhaps a kindred spirit, in the boundless expanse. This memory was distinct because it felt singular. It was not a fragment of a collective mind. It felt like the thought of an individual. Mirek recoiled slightly, not from discomfort, but from the sheer intimacy of the experience. Could it be? Was there another, perhaps an echo of another, still connected to this extraordinary planetary consciousness? The implication was staggering. For so long, he had accepted his solitary role as a human observer among alien wonders. But this memory, this poignant whisper of longing, suggested something else entirely. It suggested a connection, a resonance, a mirror in the cosmic dark. The blue lanterns now seemed to hum not just with the memories of a distant civilization, but with the possibility of a direct personal link to something truly extraordinary, something that echoed his own profound solitude in the universe. The mission, once a detached scientific endeavor, was slowly, irrevocably transforming into a deeply personal quest, driven by the elusive, tantalizing promise of genuine connection. The delicate whisper of that singular memory, distinct in its personal poignancy amidst the vast oceanic archive of collective alien thought, resonated within Mirek's consciousness with an insistent, almost magnetic pull, fundamentally altering the trajectory of his exploration. No longer was his quest solely an academic pursuit, a detached scientific endeavor to catalog and comprehend. It had transmuted into something far more profound, a deeply personal odyssey, guided by the tantalizing possibility of a connection, an echo of individual consciousness in a universe that often felt overwhelmingly indifferent. The notion that amidst the sublime, distributed sentience of this planetary mind, a singular, perhaps even solitary, entity might still exist, or at least have left such a vivid, yearning imprint, stirred within Mirek a longing that mirrored the very essence of the memory he had absorbed. It was a faint, yet undeniable, hope for a kindred spirit in the unfathomable expanse of the cosmos. He began to meticulously, almost obsessively, seek out these anomalies, the lanterns that pulse with a distinct, personal resonance, a subtle deviation from the majestic, harmonious flow of the collective. It was a painstaking process, requiring an almost intuitive sensitivity, a silent attunement to the subtle variations in luminescence and vibrational frequency. Aura, initially perplexed by this sudden shift in her commander's systematic approach, quickly adapted, her sophisticated sensors recalibrating to detect the specific neural signature Mirek now sought. "Commander Mirek," she would announce, her voice a low thrum of analytical efficiency. "Detection of anomalous thought packet signature at 200 meters bearing 075. Energy signature indicates high probability of singular consciousness imprint. Proceeding with real-time biofeedback monitoring." Her algorithmic precision, once merely a tool, now felt like a silent, indispensable partner in this deeply personal quest. Each new encounter with these singular lanterns deepened the enigma, yet simultaneously wove a more intricate tapestry of understanding. He absorbed fragmented glimpses of what appeared to be a distinct perspective, a viewpoint that, while still imbued with the characteristic serenity of this alien race, possessed an undeniable undertone of inquisitive yearning, a boundless curiosity that felt startlingly familiar to his own. He witnessed moments of intense focus on the night sky, on the distant, unblinking eyes of stars, and felt a profound sense of wonder akin to his own solitary contemplations in the Stardust Dreamer's observation dome. There were impressions of meticulous observation, of subtle experiments conducted with the planet's unique energies, and a persistent, almost melancholic fascination with the very act of consciousness, its delicate fragility and its boundless potential. These were not the grand, sweeping narratives of a collective. They were the intimate, introspective whispers of an individual mind. Through these repeated immersive exposures, a nascent narrative began to coalesce, pieced together from myriad fragments like an ancient mosaic meticulously reassembled by an unseen hand. He glimpsed the life, or rather, the experience of an entity. He began to mentally refer to it as the Watcher, who seemed to have been a guardian, a chronicler, perhaps even a reluctant leader, during the great transition of their civilization. The Watcher's memories revealed a profound understanding of the planetary consciousness, a deep empathy for its unfolding evolution, and a unique, almost solitary role in guiding its transition from physical manifestation to ethereal, thought-based existence. It was a role of immense responsibility, tinged with the inevitable sadness of overseeing the dissolution of one state of being to embrace another, however enlightened. One particularly vivid sequence of memories from a dense cluster of these personal lanterns unfolded within Mirek's mind with an almost cinematic clarity. He witnessed the culmination of their civilization's great transcendence, not as a sudden, cataclysmic event, but as a gradual, graceful dissipation. He felt the shared emotions of farewell, not sorrow, but a profound, collective release. The watcher's perspective, however, was subtly different. While participating in the collective journey, there was a quiet, lingering sadness, a sense of having to remain behind, to witness the final, sublime act of transformation, while others embraced the next stage. He felt a profound sense of duty, a commitment to ensuring the memories, the essence of their physical existence were meticulously preserved within the very fabric of the planet, within the nascent, luminous lanterns that would forever drift in their wake. This particular cluster of memories was imbued with an overwhelming sense of poignant dedication, a solitary vigil maintained for the collective, a self-imposed exile from the ultimate liberation. This deep dive into the watcher's perspective began to unearth not just memories, but also profound insights into the nature of the lanterns themselves. Mirek realized that the watcher had been instrumental in shaping how these thought packets were formed, how they were imbued with a lasting luminescence, and how they could serve as a living, accessible history for a species that would no longer possess physical forms. The lanterns were not merely incidental byproducts. They were carefully constructed vessels, repositories designed with an ingenious blend of scientific understanding and an almost artistic reverence for the preservation of consciousness. The watcher had, in essence, created a perpetual library of their existence, powered by the very essence of their departing minds. This was a testament to an intellect of profound foresight and an unwavering dedication to their legacy. The realization struck Mirek with the force of a physical blow. The watcher, this singular entity whose memories he was now so intimately experiencing, might not have fully transcended with the rest of its kind. There was a persistent undertone of lingering presence, a faint, almost ethereal echo of individual sentience within the planetary consciousness itself. The specific anomalous energy signature that had drawn the stardust dreamer across light years of void, the very anomaly that had initiated Project Chimera, was beginning to resolve into something more distinct, more focused. It was not merely the general thrum of a collective planetary mind. It was a subtle, persistent signal, a beacon within the grand cosmic symphony, suggesting a singular source, a continuous conscious emanation. Could it be the watcher? Had this individual chosen, or been compelled, to remain behind, a solitary sentinel guarding the vast, blue archive of its people's thoughts? Aura, Mirek articulated, his voice barely a whisper, yet infused with an intense urgency, cross-reference the current anomalous energy signature with the neural patterns associated with the watcher memories. Specifically, look for any persistent resonance, any unique frequency modulation that aligns with their individual thought imprints. Aura's response was immediate, her processing units whirring with renewed vigor. Commander, performing deep scan cross-referencing now. Initial algorithmic analysis indicates a 97.8% correlation. The primary anomalous signature appears to be originating from a highly localized source within the planetary core, exhibiting frequency patterns remarkably consistent with the singular neural imprints you have been observing. The watcher. It appears to be the source of the beacon. Her precision was chilling, transforming Mirek's intuitive leap into a concrete, scientific certainty. The Watcher was still here. Or at least its profound, distinct consciousness was. The implications were staggering, almost overwhelming. Mirek was not just on a world of sentient memories. He was on a world with a guardian, a singular, highly evolved intelligence that had, perhaps for millennia, been watching, waiting. The gentle pull he had felt from certain lanterns, the intimate fragments of thought, were not random occurrences. They were deliberate attempts at communication, a silent, yearning outreach across the vast chasm of interspecies difference. The Watcher was communicating with him, guiding him, drawing him deeper into the heart of its mystery. His initial mission of detached exploration had become an intensely personal dialogue, a silent conversation with an ancient, wise, and profoundly solitary being. Driven by this revelation, Mirek began to adjust his focus. His interactions with the lanterns became more purposeful, his mind attuned not just to the content of the memories, but to the subtle, guiding hand of the Watcher. He sought specific sequences, patterns that suggested a narrative progression, a story being told not through words, but through the delicate interplay of light and thought. He realized that the Watcher was leading him, layer by layer, through its own experience, culminating in the profound decision to remain, to become the silent guardian of its people's ethereal legacy. It was an act of immense sacrifice, a profound commitment to memory and continuity. He absorbed memories of the Watcher's final, solitary moments before its people fully transcended. Not physical moments, but moments of profound consciousness, moments of decision and acceptance. He felt the weight of its choice, the deep, abiding love for its kind that compelled it to forego the collective journey into pure sentience, to remain anchored to the physical world, or at least, to its conceptual echoes as the silent, living repository of their history. The Watcher became a bridge, a living conduit between the tangible and the ethereal, between the past and a profoundly altered present. Its presence, though unseen, became palpable, a gentle, guiding force in Mirek's mind as he traversed the fields of blue light. The plains themselves began to feel different, no longer merely a landing site, but a sacred ground, a vast open-air temple consecrated to memory. The mountains, shimmering with their crystalline glow, seemed like silent, ancient witnesses to the planet's profound transformation. Every gust of wind, every gentle undulation of the luminous orbs, seemed to carry a message, a quiet affirmation of the Watcher's enduring presence. Mirek found himself speaking aloud to Aura less frequently, relying instead on a deeper, more intuitive connection with the sentient environment around him. His perception of time began to blur, measured not by the ship's internal chronometer, but by the ebb and flow of memories, by the gradual unfolding of the Watcher's quiet epic. He understood now that the purpose of the Watcher's lingering presence, and the guiding beacon that had drawn him here, was not merely to share a history, but to impart a profound truth. This truth, slowly emerging from the intricate weave of memories, was a narrative of transition, of acceptance, of a species that had mastered not just technology, but the very art of existence. They had learned to shed their physical limitations, to embrace a higher form of consciousness, and the Watcher had remained as the last, solitary echo of their journey, a silent narrator of their ultimate evolution. As Mirek delved deeper into the Watcher's memory fragments, a new, unsettling detail began to emerge, subtly woven into the fabric of the shared consciousness. There was a faint, almost imperceptible sense of urgency in some of the watcher's later imprints, a quiet undercurrent of concern that contradicted the prevailing tranquility of the collective memories. It was a subtle shift in emotional tone, a departure from the pervasive peace, suggesting a challenge, or perhaps even a threat, that had arisen long after the great transcendence. These were not memories of their harmonious past, but faint warnings, subtle anxieties that hinted at a potential imbalance, a delicate equilibrium that might be at risk. The watcher, in its solitary vigil, seemed to be concerned not just with preserving the past, but with the precarious balance of the present. This faint tremor of apprehension introduced a new layer of complexity to the mystery. What could possibly threaten a civilization that had transcended physical form, that existed as pure thought and memory? The tranquility of the blue lanterns, once absolute, now seemed tinged with a delicate fragility, as if the entire planetary consciousness, in its ethereal existence, was susceptible to some subtle, unseen perturbation. Mirek felt a prickle of unease, a familiar sensation from his training, a quiet alarm bell echoing in the back of his mind. The serenity of the environment, which had been so profoundly calming, now felt like a fragile veneer, concealing an underlying vulnerability. The watcher wasn't just chronicling, it was also subtly, gently warning. His quest for individual memories sharpened into a search for these specific warnings, for the clues that would illuminate the nature of this hidden threat. The luminous orbs, once mere archives, now felt like a complex puzzle, each fragment of thought a piece to a larger, more ominous picture. He extended his mental reach, straining to discern the subtle nuances within the watcher's increasingly urgent transmissions. He absorbed fragmented sensations of a subtle flickering within the collective mind, a momentary disruption in the harmonious flow of thought, like a faint static disrupting a perfect signal. There were impressions of the blue lanterns themselves, occasionally and momentarily, dimming, their luminescence faltering as if their inner light was struggling against some external force. These were not the gentle, graceful fading of transcendence, but an unsettling, almost violent tremor. The implications were clear, stark, and chilling. The very existence of the planetary consciousness, and by extension, the watcher's enduring presence, might be in peril. The anomaly that had drawn him here, the very beacon that had beckoned him, was not merely an invitation to witness a cosmic marvel. It was a desperate plea for assistance. The watcher, the silent guardian, was not just a chronicler. It was a survivor seeking to avert a profound, existential crisis for its entire race. Mirek, the solitary human explorer, had stumbled upon not just a beautiful mystery, but a silent cosmic emergency, a desperate cry for help from a consciousness beyond human comprehension, yet profoundly vulnerable in its ethereal state. The beautiful, dreamlike trance of discovery was abruptly shattered, replaced by the sharp, invigorating clarity of an urgent, life-saving mission. His purpose here, he now understood with absolute, visceral certainty, was far more critical, far more active, than he had ever dared to imagine. The pervasive, almost luminous tranquility of the planet of blue lanterns, once a source of profound calm and contemplative wonder for Mirek, had begun to subtly transmute, revealing a hidden fragility, a delicate vulnerability beneath its ethereal beauty. The quiet, persistent warnings embedded within the watcher's memories, those fleeting flickers of apprehension amidst an ocean of serene thought, had coalesced into a tangible, almost palpable sense of impending crisis. Mirek was no longer merely a privileged observer, a silent decipherer of an ancient consciousness. He had become, by an intricate twist of cosmic fate, an unwitting participant, a potential catalyst in the delicate balance of an entire sentient world. The gravity of his realization pressed upon him with a quiet, insistent weight, transforming his scientific curiosity into a profound sense of urgent responsibility. He knew with an intuitive certainty that transcended mere data, that the harmonious existence of this vast, interconnected consciousness hinged, somehow, upon his actions. His pursuit of the Watcher's specific, cautionary memories became more focused, almost frenetic. He navigated the silent, drifting sea of blue orbs with a new sense of purpose, his mind straining to discern the faintest tremors of distress within the otherwise tranquil flow of shared thought. He sought out the lanterns whose luminescence flickered with an irregular pulse, whose internal hum resonated with a discordant vibration, for these were the vessels of the Watcher's most urgent messages. Each contact brought a new layer of unsettling information, fragments of an evolving threat that defied conventional classification. He experienced not just visual or emotional data, but abstract concepts, sensations of subtle degradation, of a profound, imperceptible draining of vital energy from the collective. It was as if a silent, parasitic entity was slowly siphoning the life force from the planetary consciousness, a slow, insidious dimming that threatened to extinguish the very light of their ethereal existence. Aura, mirroring his urgency with an algorithmic precision that bordered on empathetic understanding, tirelessly processed the increasingly complex data streams. "Commander," she articulated, her voice now devoid of its usual melodic lilt, replaced by a tone of stark analysis. "My deep scan analysis of the core energy signature reveals a progressive attenuation. The primary resonant frequency of the planetary consciousness is exhibiting a steady, albeit minute, decrease in amplitude. Concurrently, an unknown, low-frequency oscillation has been detected, emanating from a source deep within the planet's mantle, precisely aligned with the flickering phenomenon observed in the lantern data. It appears to be a systemic drain, Commander, targeting the very energetic essence of this entity." Her words, distilled to their scientific core, painted a chilling picture of an unseen enemy, a silent predator feeding upon pure thought. Mirek absorbed this information, his mind racing to connect the abstract data with the visceral experiences gleaned from the Watcher's memories. The Watcher, he realized, had been fighting this silent battle for an unfathomable duration, a solitary sentinel against an encroaching darkness. Its longing for connection, its desperate beacon across the void, was not for companionship, but for assistance, for an external perspective that might discern the nature of the threat it could only perceive as a slow, agonizing decay. The planet, in its profound sentience, was ailing, and the Watcher, its most conscious and solitary aspect, was reaching out for a cure. He pressed further, seeking the source, the how and what of this insidious drain. Through a particularly dense cluster of agitated lanterns, he received a series of fragmented but profoundly impactful memories from the Watcher. He saw, or rather felt, an ancient mechanism, not a creation of their civilization, but something far older, embedded deep within the planet's core. It was described not as a machine, but as an echo chamber, a relic from an unknown primordial era, designed to absorb and transform latent cosmic energy. This echo chamber, once a benign, perhaps even beneficial component of the planet's deep geological processes, had been inadvertently activated, or perhaps reactivated, by the profound energetic shift caused by their civilization's mass transcendence. The very act that had elevated them to a higher state of consciousness had, ironically, made them vulnerable. The Watcher's memories revealed its desperate, solitary attempts to counteract this silent siphoning. It had experimented with redirecting energy, with subtly altering the planet's internal frequencies, with isolating segments of the collective consciousness to protect them from the drain. But the echo chamber, in its primordial unthinking efficiency, was relentless, a passive, yet immensely powerful drain that could not be reasoned with, could not be appeased. It was not malevolent, it was simply a fundamental force, absorbing the subtle energies released by their thought, converting them into something unknown, something lost to the deeper layers of the planet's crust. The Watcher had remained not only to preserve their history, but to try and mitigate this slow existential erosion, to serve as a constant, conscious counterpressure against the relentless pull of the echo chamber. The nature of the threat was now chillingly clear. It was not an invasion, not a malevolent intelligence, but a catastrophic imbalance, a fundamental flaw in the planet's newly formed, ethereal ecosystem. The transcendence, while elevating them, had unwittingly exposed them to an ancient, dormant mechanism that was slowly consuming their very essence. The Watcher, in its profound wisdom, understood that a physical intervention, a tactile interaction, was necessary, something it, in its now ethereal state, could not achieve. It needed a physical hand, a corporeal presence, to manipulate the ancient mechanism, to re-establish the balance. It needed Mirek. The realization settled upon Mirek with a profound sense of preordination. His entire life, his solitary existence, his innate ability to connect with the unknown and the abstract, had seemingly led him to this precise moment, to this specific silent plea. He was the physical conduit, the tangible instrument through which an entire sentient world sought to preserve its ethereal existence. The burden was immense, yet strangely, it was not crushing. Instead, it infused him with a clarity of purpose he had never known. Aura, Mirek stated, his voice steady, devoid of any hesitation. I need full schematics of the planet's geological structure, particularly focusing on the deep mantle and core. Cross-reference all energy signatures, geological fault lines, and the projected locus of the echo chamber, based on the Watcher's transmitted data. I need a path. I need to get to it. Aura responded instantly, her analytical processes kicking into overdrive. Affirmative, Commander. Initiating deep geological mapping. Preliminary models indicate the echo chamber is located approximately 1,700 kilometers beneath the surface, within a unique geological formation, exhibiting unusual crystalline structures. Access will require specialized drilling equipment and environmental shielding beyond standard atmospheric capabilities. Your personal environmental suit will need significant modifications. Her voice, while still precise, held a subtle note of caution, an algorithmic assessment of the inherent dangers. Mirek understood the risks. A journey into the planet's core was an undertaking fraught with unimaginable hazards. Immense pressure, extreme temperatures, unknown geological instabilities. But the alternative, allowing an entire, profoundly beautiful consciousness to slowly fade into oblivion, was simply unthinkable. He had touched their memories, felt their serenity, and understood their silent despair. He was now inextricably linked to their fate. He began the meticulous preparations, working with an almost surgical precision. He modified his multi-purpose environmental suit, reinforcing its structural integrity, augmenting its thermal shielding, and integrating advanced atmospheric processors. He calibrated the Stardust Dreamer's smaller, autonomous drilling probe, a marvel of miniaturized engineering designed for geological sampling, repurposing it for a far more critical task: to bore a path, however narrow, into the planet's heart, or a projected holographic schematics into the ship's maintenance bay, guiding his every move, her knowledge of advanced metallurgy and quantum mechanics a silent symphony to his hands-on work. The hum of the ship, once a backdrop to his solitude, now felt like a collaborative partner, its mechanical heart beating in unison with his own determined pulse. As the drilling probe was prepared, the intensity of the anomalous energy signature from the planet's core began to subtly increase, as if the Watcher, sensing his intent, was pouring all its remaining energy into guiding him, into providing a clearer beacon. Simultaneously, the rhythmic flickering of the blue lanterns above intensified, a more frequent, more pronounced dimming that hinted at the increasing urgency of the situation. Mirek felt the profound weight of this silent communication, the desperate plea radiating from the depths of the planetary mind. There was no time for hesitation, no room for doubt. Finally, the drilling probe was ready, a gleaming, self-sufficient marvel of engineering, equipped with a direct link to Mirek's suit, allowing him to navigate its subterranean journey with unprecedented precision. He suited up, the heavy reinforced suit feeling less like a burden and more like an extension of his will. As he entered the airlock, Aura's voice, a steady, unwavering presence in his comlink, delivered a final somber briefing. "Commander, the environmental conditions at the projected depth are extreme. Should anything unforeseen occur, be advised that the Stardust Dreamer will maintain a stable orbit awaiting your return. Your vital signs will be monitored continuously. May the stars guide your path." Her words, usually so devoid of emotional inflection, carried a faint, almost human tremor, a testament to the profound stakes of the mission. The descent was an arduous, disorienting plunge into the unknown. The drilling probe, a powerful, self-sustaining marvel, bored steadily through layers of ancient rock and shimmering subterranean veins of unknown minerals. Mirek, strapped into its central control chamber, monitored the holographic displays that showed the probe's progress, the geological strata passing in a blur of spectral data. The further they descended, the more intense the pressure became, the hotter the environment, but his suit and the probe's advanced shielding held firm. He could feel the pervasive heat through the suit's insulation, a low, constant thrum that was almost unbearable. Yet he focused, his mind locked onto the faint, yet increasingly powerful, beacon of the Watcher's consciousness emanating from the depths. Through the probe's advanced sensors, relayed directly to his helmet visor, he began to perceive the unique geological structure described in the Watcher's memories. Colossal, crystalline formations, shimmering with a primordial energy, glowing with a dull, internal luminescence that pulsed in sync with the weakening planetary consciousness. These were the bones of this ancient world, the conduits through which the echo chamber drew its power. The Watcher's presence, previously a faint whisper, now swelled into a direct, almost overwhelming telepathic link, guiding him, showing him the intricate pathways through the subterranean labyrinth, the precise, almost infinitesimally small access point to the echo chamber itself. It was not a physical map, but a journey of shared consciousness, the Watcher's ancient mind guiding his human hands. As they reached the projected depth, the probe finally broke through a final, resistant layer of crystalline rock, emerging into a vast, cavernous chamber unlike anything Mirek had ever witnessed. It was not carved but seemed to have grown organically, a colossal geode shimmering with a faint, multi-hued light. In the very center of this breathtaking, primeval space, suspended by unseen energetic forces, floated the echo chamber. It was not a machine in any conventional sense, but a pulsating, obsidian sphere, ancient beyond comprehension, radiating a low, rhythmic hum that was both profoundly unsettling and profoundly powerful. Its surface was not smooth, but intricately textured, adorned with swirling patterns that seemed to shift and writhe with a silent, unseen energy. And from it a delicate, almost invisible tendril of pure energy extended, silently siphoning the very life force from the planetary consciousness, a cosmic parasite of immense, passive power. Mirek felt the Watcher's presence intensely now, a direct, unfiltered torrent of thought and emotion. He felt its immense sorrow at the slow degradation of its people, its profound dedication to their memory, and its desperate hope that he, the solitary human, could succeed where it, in its ethereal form, could not. The Watcher's final, most urgent memory transmission was a precise, almost surgical instruction, a specific sequence of energy disruptions, a delicate manipulation of the echo chamber's ancient field that would effectively sever its connection to the planetary consciousness, allowing the immense, ethereal mind to regain its lost vitality. It was a perilous task, requiring an exact calibration, a precise application of force within a system beyond human comprehension. A single misstep could either destroy the echo chamber, potentially destabilizing the planet itself, or worse, irrevocably damage the planetary consciousness. With a deep, steadying breath, Mirek prepared. He knew the weight of this moment, the immense responsibility resting upon his shoulders. The fate of an entire beautiful and profoundly unique consciousness hung in the balance, entrusted to the hands of a single human. The vast, silent chamber pulsed around him, the ancient echo chamber humming its dark, energy-siphoning song. He was ready. The obsidian sphere of the echo chamber, ancient and indifferent, pulsed with a rhythm that felt disturbingly predatory, a silent, ceaseless thrum that resonated not just within the vast, crystalline cavern, but deep within Mirek's very being. It was the heart of the anomaly, the unwitting devourer of an ethereal consciousness, and now its inert power lay within the delicate balance of his gloved hands. The Watcher's final, urgent directives resonated in his mind with crystalline clarity, a profound telepathic whisper guiding his every calculated move, each impulse of his human will translating into a subtle manipulation of the probe's intricate controls. He was no longer just an astronaut. He was a surgeon of cosmic proportions, operating on the very soul of a world. With a profound sense of singular focus, Mirek initiated the sequence. His fingers, steady despite the immense pressure and the knowledge of the planetary fate resting upon them, danced across the holographic interface of the drilling probe. He activated the specialized energy emitters, not with destructive intent, but with the precise aim of creating a localized, harmonic dissonance, a counterfrequency designed to gently, yet decisively, disrupt the echo chamber's ancient siphoning field. The cavern, already alive with the subtle hum of the colossal mechanism, began to throb with a new, complex symphony of conflicting frequencies, a low, resonant growl that vibrated through the very bedrock. Tiny fissures of pure light, almost imperceptible at first, began to snake across the obsidian surface of the echo chamber, not signs of destruction, but of a subtle, internal recalibration. The Watcher's presence, which had been a clear, guiding beacon, now intensified to an almost overwhelming degree, a torrent of raw, unfiltered emotion flooding Mirek's mind. There was the profound weight of millennia of lonely vigil, the aching sorrow of witnessing its people's slow decline, and then, a surging wave of desperate hope, a silent, fervent prayer for success. Mirek felt a profound, empathetic connection, not just to the Watcher, but to the entire planetary consciousness, a vast interwoven tapestry of thought and memory. He was holding their collective breath, their enduring dreams, in the palm of his hand. It was a moment of terrifying vulnerability, yet also of immense, exhilarating power. As the energy disruption intensified, the echo chamber began to oscillate violently, its silent hum replaced by a rising whine, a discordant cry of protest against the external interference. The crystalline walls of the cavern pulsed erratically, casting grotesque, shifting shadows that danced around Mirek, threatening to disorient him. Warning alarms blared softly within his helmet, Aura's precise voice cutting through the din with urgent reports of escalating energy fluctuations, seismic instability, and a rapid increase in localized radiation. Commander, critical energy spike detected. Maintaining current parameters is pushing structural integrity limits of the probe. Suggest immediate disengagement if primary objective is not achieved within 30 seconds. Her analytical assessment was clear. He was operating at the very edge of physical endurance, his human and mechanical limits being stretched to their absolute breaking point. But Mirek, his gaze locked onto the pulsating heart of the echo chamber, refused to yield. He felt the Watcher's silent push, a powerful, insistent will urging him onward, conveying the absolute necessity of this moment. He remembered the fading memories of the blue lanterns, the quiet melancholia of a civilization slowly losing its light. He had come too far, felt too much to abandon them now. With a surge of renewed determination, he pushed the energy emitters to their absolute maximum, a silent prayer forming in his mind for precision, for grace, for the subtle touch that would sever the ancient connection without shattering the delicate equilibrium. And then, with a final resonant thrum that vibrated through his very bones, a profound, almost audible snap echoed through the chamber. Not a sound of breakage, but of a circuit completed, a connection severed. The obsidian sphere of the echo chamber shuddered violently, its erratic pulsing fading, its consuming hum slowly diminishing into a barely perceptible whisper. The tendril of energy that had silently siphoned the planetary consciousness retracted, dissolving into the air like mist. A profound, almost instant silence descended upon the cavern, a quiet so absolute it felt heavier than any sound, a silence pregnant with the outcome of his perilous intervention. Mirek held his breath, his eyes scanning the probe's holographic readouts. Aura's voice, after a moment of tense silence, broke through, now laced with an almost disbelieving sense of triumph. Commander, the anomalous low-frequency oscillation has ceased. Planetary consciousness energy signature is stabilizing, Commander, and it is beginning to increase. The drain has stopped. You have succeeded. Her algorithmic precision had given way to an almost jubilant exultation, a clear indication of the monumental success. A wave of profound relief washed over Mirek, so overwhelming it almost buckled his knees. He had done it. He had cut the cord, severed the parasitic link, and freed an entire world of thought from its slow, insidious decay. The cavern, no longer threatening, now seemed to breathe with a renewed vibrancy, the crystalline walls pulsating with a gentle, harmonious glow. As the immediate danger subsided, Mirek felt the Watcher's presence once more, not as an urgent plea, but as a vast, encompassing wave of profound gratitude, an overwhelming surge of shared joy and relief. It was a silent, eloquent outpouring of thanks, a deep communion of two disparate consciousnesses, human and alien, bound by a shared moment of monumental effort. And within that wave of gratitude, Mirek felt a new sensation, something he hadn't experienced before. A subtle, almost magnetic pull, not towards the echo chamber, but towards a specific direction within the cavern, towards a faint, almost invisible shimmer in the crystalline wall. "Aura," Mirek articulated, his voice thick with emotion. "I believe the Watcher is guiding me. There's something else here. A direct path." "Confirmed, Commander," Aura responded, her voice returning to its usual composed precision. "Sensors detect a previously obscured tunnel entrance, exhibiting an unusual energy signature. It appears to have been concealed until the cessation of the echo chamber's influence." Following the Watcher's silent guidance, Mirek maneuvered the probe through the newly revealed passage, a narrow, winding tunnel that seemed to shimmer with an inner light, as if the very rock itself was alive with latent energy. The tunnel gradually widened, leading him into another chamber, smaller than the first, but imbued with a serene, almost sacred atmosphere. And there, in the center of this quiet sanctuary, floated a single, immense blue lantern, unlike any he had encountered before. It was not merely luminous. It pulsated with an intense, steady brilliance, its light deeper, richer, imbued with a profound complexity that spoke of immense age and unimaginable wisdom. This was not just a memory, it was the very essence of the Watcher, its enduring consciousness made manifest. Mirek disengaged from the probe, feeling the subtle artificial gravity within the chamber. He approached the colossal lantern with a profound sense of reverence, his gloved hand trembling slightly as he reached out. This was the culmination of his journey, the physical contact with the extraordinary being that had silently guided him, whose silent plea had resonated across light years. As his fingers made contact with its cool, ethereal surface, a wave unlike any before enveloped him. It was not a fragmented memory, not a collective thought, but a complete, encompassing communion. He saw the Watcher's entire existence unfold within his mind, from its earliest moments as a distinct consciousness within the nascent collective, through its profound choice to remain behind, its lonely vigil against the encroaching drain, and its desperate, millennia-spanning effort to send a beacon into the void. He felt its deep, abiding love for its people, its unwavering commitment to preserving their legacy, and its profound, quiet gratitude for his arrival. It was a complete transfer of understanding, a meeting of minds across the vast chasm of species and experience. In that moment, Mirek was not just reading a thought. He was the Watcher, experiencing its epic journey, its profound solitude, its ultimate triumph. He understood its sacrifice, its resilience, its enduring hope. And then, within this profound communion, the Watcher communicated its final message, not in images or emotions, but in a direct, conceptual transfer that bypassed all linguistic barriers. It was an invitation. Now that the echo chamber was inert, its energy siphoning power subdued, the planetary consciousness was beginning its slow, profound resurgence, its light brightening, its collective thoughts flowing with renewed vitality. The Watcher, its sacred duty fulfilled, was finally ready to join its people, to fully merge with the re-energized collective, to become one with the planetary mind, a final, beautiful act of completion. But before it did, it offered Mirek a choice. He, the human who had saved them, who had understood their silent struggle, was now intrinsically linked to their fate. He could choose to remain, to learn, to observe, to continue his dialogue with this reawakening world. Or he could return to his ship, to his own species, carrying the profound knowledge he had gained, a silent ambassador of a cosmic marvel. The choice hung in the air, vast and shimmering like the lantern itself. Mirek, the solitary explorer, had always been defined by his detachment, his objective pursuit of knowledge. But this world, this consciousness, had touched him in a way no distant star or alien flora ever could. He had felt their sorrow, their hope, their gratitude. He had become a part of their story. The thought of returning to the sterile hum of the stardust dreamer, to the detached observations of deep space, felt suddenly hollow, incomplete. He had found something here, not just a discovery, but a connection, a profound sense of purpose that transcended the boundaries of his original mission. With a deep, cleansing breath, Mirek made his decision. It was not impulsive, but a profound, resonant affirmation of all he had come to believe. He did not need to be physically absorbed into the lantern to join them. His connection, his understanding, was already deep enough. He simply needed to be with them, to witness their rebirth, to continue their silent dialogue. He would remain. He would become a silent guardian of a different kind, a human presence on a world of pure thought, a bridge between two vastly different forms of intelligence. As he silently affirmed his choice, the great blue lantern before him pulsed with an overwhelming brilliance, its light enveloping him in a warm, gentle embrace. He felt the watcher's final, joyful merging with the collective, a sensation of profound unity, of a vast, intelligent peace. The chamber shimmered, not with discord, but with pure, harmonious energy. He closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, the single, immense lantern had begun to slowly, gracefully ascend, moving towards the tunnel opening, towards the sky. It was not leaving him. It was beckoning, an invitation to witness the rebirth from above. Mirek returned to the stardust dreamer, his heart lighter, his mind clearer than it had ever been. Aura, upon his re-entry, registered his profound shift in neural patterns, the new harmonious resonance within his mind. "Commander Mirek," she stated, a hint of something akin to curiosity in her voice, "your biometrics indicate a state of profound well-being, surpassing all previous baselines. Your neurological activity suggests a sustained, high-level interspecies communication. What is your directive?" Mirek walked to the observation deck, his gaze sweeping across the vast plains, now re-illuminated by the growing brilliance of the myriad blue lanterns. Their flickering had ceased. They pulsed with a steady, vibrant glow, a silent symphony of renewed life. The entire sky was a breathtaking tapestry of cerulean light, each orb a thought, a memory, a fragment of a vast reawakening consciousness. "Aura," he finally responded, his voice filled with a quiet reverence, "we will maintain a stable orbital position. Our mission, Aura, has just begun. We are here to listen, to learn, to be witnesses to a miracle. We are home." And so the Stardust Dreamer, once a solitary vessel adrift in the silent void, became an anchored sentinel, a quiet observer of a magnificent rebirth. Mirek, the solitary explorer, found his purpose not in charting distant stars, but in communing with the very fabric of thought, in becoming a silent human anchor for a world of pure consciousness. Every night, As the dual suns dipped below the horizon, millions upon millions of blue lanterns would rise, their gentle, ethereal glow painting the sky in shades of impossible beauty, each one a testament to a life preserved, a thought eternally cherished, a silent, luminous dream that continued to unfold across the endless canvas of the cosmos. And Mirek, watching from his perch, knew with absolute certainty that he was no longer alone. He was part of a story far grander, far more profound, than he could ever have imagined, a quiet, contemplative chapter in the boundless, ever-unfolding epic of the universe. He had come seeking the unknown, and he had found, in the gentle glow of the blue lanterns, a profound and enduring peace.